Hi everyone, my name is Rachel Miller and I will discuss the do's and don'ts of assessments designs from the perspective of both research and my own experience as a test taker and a test writer. Do's and don'ts. Over time, I have noticed that effective assessments tend to follow some clear guidelines. Some critical do's will align with the test questions or what students were taught using clear and simple words or wording or phrases that made the questions a little bit better to understand. And that's something that the students need to know. It needs to be clear, it needs to be simple, because we all know that we can put in some test questions that can trick the students. So it needs to be clear and given in different types of questions for them to allow them to practice with, allow them to see it in different type of forms, keywords that they can point out for them to better understand when it comes to taking the test. It is also better to use its standards. Use it by the standards so that the students will know exactly what they're um, expected on the exam. On the other hand, you might have some common ones, some common don'ts on the exams. I know from personal experience, but for example, it should not include confusing words to confuse the child. If you guys have not practiced these words throughout the school year, or you have not went over sight words or some type of keywords when it comes to answering questions or unfamiliar wording, it just makes it harder for them to understand the question or even give a clear answer if they have to fill it in or write it in. So that shouldn't be something that the student have to struggle with when it comes to taking the exam. Also, they shouldn't focus on unimportant words that don't make sense, or just relying on memory. Like, this is what it's supposed to be. This is what we're practicing on the test. I'm looking for that same particular question so I can answer it correctly. That's not going to happen. And some of the students think that what they review throughout the year or for the practice test is what's going to be on the exam. So this right here um, should not be based on our personal biases when we're writing a test and unrealistic time limits. We got to make sure that time frame to give the children, the students, adequate enough time to answer the question within a minute or so for them to get to the end of the test questions. If it's 40 questions, they want to make sure they answer them all and not spend too much time on one particular question because that can prevent students from truly demonstrating what they actually know because they're so nervous, so they're not going to get the full effect of focusing on the question, and they're just going to rush through it and answer it any type of way. Also, our challenging techniques is when assessment techniques that that I found that was challenging when it comes to writing higher order thinking questions. Some of these questions require analysis and evaluation. With some of these questions, they promote critical thinking and real world application. That was something that I identified when I was doing our questions and going over some exams. However, these can actually be difficult for some of the questions that are written that are not written clearly, and some of the students may become frustrated and very don't want to take the test and just be upset with the teacher and have anxiety when it comes to taking a test. They'll misunderstand it when they're being asked the question. If you're doing a verbal test taking and you have to dictate it and you have to demonstrate it, I mean talk to them about the exam, and they got to write something down, they can be very closed out and shut down, and and it's not not doing up what they know, and it's not living up to their potential of taking an exam. So it's scored off of whatever the test question is, and because they're so nervous, they're not answering it correctly. So those are a couple of challenges. There's also another challenge approach to consider is being authentic assessment, which is just like when conducting projects and case studies. These are very meaningful, and sometimes it can be harder to grade consistently without clear understanding. To improve these methods, I can think of some teachers who have that I should have, I mean, not I should have, but that should give more detail when understanding when they're using these type of methods, like breaking it down into smaller chunks, and steps, that the students can understand. For example, of what success looks like. The children need to have a better, be able to have a better understanding in their different perspectives. So they need to understand of what it actually going to look like when it's time for them to take the test. Also, when it comes to sorry, when it comes to getting the children prepared for the test, it's in my classroom I do brain breaks before the test starts. So we put on a little video, let them shake their wiggles out, get loose. We do a countdown, we do a meditation for them to get their mind focused and clear from the morning right before the test starts at 8:20. So it's important for them to be comfortable and not be so nervous when it comes to the exam, and that's to adults too. So going into my personal experience, um, I have both positive and negative test taking situations. I just recently took an exam today that I prepared for it. I reviewed it over the week, and I was so nervous about it. But when I actually got into taking the test, it was simple. It was simple. The questions was clear. It was easy. I didn't have to overthink it. So that's something that happens all the time with students and with adults when they take an exam. Sometimes it can be, the teacher can use it as a project-based assessment instead of using their regular traditional um, tests, which are applied for real life situations. So the material can be on a deeper understanding, helps with a deeper understanding of what is going to be on the exam, or just a sample of what the test is like. And we overthink it, so sometimes we just have to feel more comfortable, um, do our meditation and our countdown too, and not really overthink and confuse our own self when it comes to taking the test. So with multiple, especially with multiple choice, the questions may seem like it's the same answers but different questions. So you really have to tap into reading it very thoroughly and taking your time within the time frame so that you can get the words clear, and not be so tricked by the tricky words or the um, tricky phrases that's on the exam. And some of these answers may seem to be correct, and some of them may be wording may be unclear. But with this experience that I have had, it didn't make me frustrated, and my grade did not reflect. It didn't mess up my grade. I was able to show what I knew, and sometimes it may be the opposite. It may be the grade may not reflect on what you actually know, and what you could have messed up on some type of tricky answers. And there are three other strong assessments that are very important to focus on, which I will discuss in a little detail on these three key areas: uh, validity, reliability, and rigor. So, as the first one, which validity, which means that the test measures maybe just measures what it's supposed to be. This can actually be achieved by aligning the questions with what your learning objectives are. The second one is reliability, which results in being more consistent with um, the standardized test, the format, the structure, where the rubric is very clear and the grading becomes very important. And with the rigor, which is the third one, means that the assessment is appropriately challenging, and it should be beyond memorizing material for the test and requiring more thinking critically and apply your knowledge. Also, what can help is by strengthening these three areas with using mixture of a set of assessments such as practice tests, um, projects throughout the year, similar to what the test is going to be on at the end of the year, and just having frequent discussion with your students in reference to how to take the test, what they're going to expect. Just going over it throughout the year, not just wait till it's time to do milestone testing, or when you have to do an exam throughout the year, you got to give a grade. Like, you just frequently reassuring them that they can feel comfortable with taking the test. So I believe that overall, the assessments just don't measure learning, but it also supports the learning in a healthy way. It is designed to make sure that you can help the students think more clearly about what they're going to do when it comes to the test, like just building confidence and truly demonstrating what they know. So I thank you for watching this video, and I hope that you are able to take my experience of test taking and being a test writer into consideration of when you're doing your tests or when you're planning your exam or practicing with your students. So I thank you for watching my video. Until next time, thank you.